Hello everyone, today I'm watching Kurzgesagt. What if you detonated a nuclear bomb in the Marianas Trench? Science, not fantasy. I just watched his video about what if we detonated all nuclear bombs, and it was great, but it also showed the terrible results of what would happen if we actually did that. So let's see what would happen if he detonated a bomb in the deepest point in the ocean that we know of. I assume the effects would not be bad at all.
What would happen if we detonated humanity's most powerful nuclear weapon at the deepest point of the ocean? For sure, tsunamis hundreds of meters high would destroy coastal cities, earthquakes would level countries, new volcanoes would bring us nuclear winter.
Or we'll create Godzilla.
Maybe even Earth could be ripped apart or thrown out of orbit. Well, almost. Currently, Earth's deepest known point is inside the Mariana Trench.
Look at how far that goes compared to the entirety of
known
Earth.
Point is inside the Mariana Trench.
That is practically nothing. That's like a third of the Earth's crust. It wouldn't cause any incredibly terrible effects.
The Mariana
That's what I
Trench
believe
is
at
a
least.
very deep valley right at the edge of two tectonic plates that looks like an upside-down mountain. It reaches a depth of about 11 kilometers, almost 3 times deeper than the dark grave of the Titanic. It's one of the last places on Earth
Which Titanic?
for humans to explore. Pitch black and under 1,000 atmospheres of pressure, it's a relatively pristine environment thanks to the absence of humans. A great place for our nuclear test.
Actually, he just mentioned the pressure. I'm quite sure that a nuke this deep underwater wouldn't be effective because of the pressure as well. Because when a nuke explodes, it creates a fireball. But on the water, the pressure would push against that fireball, and I feel like it would kind of contain it, unless the nuke is stronger than pressure 11 kilometers deep underwater, which I don't believe it is stronger than that. But we'll see.
We'll use the most powerful nuclear bomb humans have ever exploded, the
Tsar bomber.
RDS-220 hydrogen bomb, or Tsar bomber.
Yeah, okay.
Its explosion was so massive that its shockwave traveled around the Earth 3 times, and its mushroom cloud stretched 56 kilometers into the sky. Its shockwave was strong enough to destroy everything in 1,000 square kilometers, its fireball hot enough to burn the rubble. Bombs like this release such an enormous amount of energy at once that they could boil away an entire lake. And if we set off a nuclear bomb in the Mariana Trench, that's exactly what happens. Let's pull the trigger. In the first few microseconds,
Okay, so before the actual effects start, once again I'm calling it, nothing will happen.
the nuclear fuel undergoes its chain reaction and explodes with the power of 50 megatons of TNT. A blinding flash of light illuminates the darkness of the trench for the first time in history. The heat of the explosion produces a cavity, a flaming bubble of water vapor, radioactive nuclei, and the remains of very unlucky fish. The bubble grows quickly as it vaporizes the water around it. The pressure of the bubble is immense, plowing outwards as if there's nothing in the way, sending off a shockwave that will be felt by seismic stations and whales around the world. And then, almost as fast as it emerges, it stops.
Yeah, just like I said, pretty much
On the
nothing.
surface of the Earth, this fireball bubble would grow to 10 kilometers the second after it's detonated, as the atmosphere barely puts up a fight to hold it back. But the pressure at the bottom of the Mariana Trench is enormous. With 11 kilometers of water overhead, being in the Mariana Trench is like being crushed by a hydraulic press from every direction. Here, a second after the detonation, our bubble is about 1 kilometer across, when oddly enough, it starts to shrink. The bubble overextends itself, losing pressure
Yeah, the
as it
water pressure is
expands
just too
until
much.
the water turns it back, recompressing it. The tug of war between the fiery death bubble and water goes back and forth a few times, the bubble shrinking and growing until eventually the bubble loses for good. The pressure around it is too great, and turbulent water begins to chop it up. it becomes something like the underwater equivalent of a mushroom cloud as it disintegrates into many smaller hot
Okay, so the
and
radiation would
radioactive
still be a
bubbles drifting
problem.
upwards. And as our mighty destructive blast rises to the surface, it does basically nothing. Just a small wave and a bubbling plume of radioactive warm water in the Pacific. No tsunami will wash away Japan or...
I assume that the radioactive material wouldn't be that bad because it is in the ocean. It will eventually just spread further across, and it's not going to be very, how do I put this? It's going to spread out. It's not going to be concentrated into one place where radioactivity is going to be way higher. It's just going to slowly spread out and dissipate. And pretty much disappear. One nuke doesn't cause that much radioactivity.
or California, although boats and whales in the area might have a bad time. The radioactive fallout will be diluted into the Pacific after a few days, although a fair amount of radioactive water and salt makes it to the atmosphere, where it collects and then rains down again. Even if the wind blows the fallout
would be pretty bad.
towards the Philippines, the worst of it probably happens over the oceans.
Oh, that's Godzilla.
But clearly, the real danger comes from our explosion-triggering earthquakes and...
That I'm 100% confident will not happen. Because a nuclear bomb is nowhere near strong enough to cause the tectonic plates to shift. I'm quite sure it isn't strong enough.
volcanoes, right? Even if we detonated the bomb right in the trench at the exact point where tectonic plates touch, probably not. The explosion would vaporize a part of the sea floor and turn a lot of sand into glass, but most of the energy goes into the water, not seismic
exactly.
waves. Earthquakes are already quite common at tectonic plate boundaries, and earthquakes with as much seismic energy as our bomb happen a few times a year without triggering any sort of apocalypse. But maybe it will affect the Earth's orbit. Since no mass is taken away or
Probably
added
not.
to the Earth, our orbit is completely unaffected. Also, there have been well over 1,000 nuclear tests in the last 70 years, and that didn't change our orbit, so why would this time be different? The strongest forces humanity can unleash are laughable compared to the forces of nature. The planet is too big.
Sharknado.
It doesn't care. So, what happens to us if we detonate a nuclear weapon really deep in the ocean? Pretty much nothing. Did you know?
Yeah, at the end of the day, everything humanity can come up with is nothing compared to what nature can throw at us. This was a good video. Very informative. Yeah. A nuclear bomb is pretty much nothing compared to natural disasters. Unless you drop the nuclear bomb in like a massive city, of course. Yeah, anyway, like, subscribe, comment. My Discord link is down in the description below, so check that out. I'll see you in the next video.